Right. That's it. I've got a little black line because it says to begin then the webinar, which I will do so in
I can do that for you if you want. I can do that for you if you want. Can you go got it?
No, I don't. You can't do it because then I don't know when it started unless it disappears off of my screen. And then at the top there is the bar.
Yeah, the bar is still there.
I've got a tiny little bar, but it only says interrompi condivisione. That I can't do anything about. And then the drop down comes when I put my cursor up there.
Okay.
So are we what we're doing?
Did you have questions at the end this morning? We got 1 minute.
There were some questions, not very many, but there were some questions.
Do you want to look at them yourself or do you want me to read them to you?
I can't. So, I mean, in the end, this morning, what Mattia did was he answered as many as he could. And that was it.
In writing.
Yeah. And he put in links and stuff, but we didn't have time in the end to do really questions.
Okay.
So.
Nightmare. So, yeah, shall we let them in?
Yeah, I think we should. Okay.
Okay, so good luck.
Thank you. Good luck to you too. Okay. I can't see anyone or anything. I don't know who's joining or anything. Okay. Right.
All right.
Here we go.
You've got your black blocks in the middle.
Yes, because that's me starting everything off.
So hello and welcome. I can see that our people are joining us, Jo. So welcome. We'll be starting in a moment.
That's great. Everybody's coming in. Well, welcome to everybody who's just joined. Please put in the chat where you're calling in from. Maybe some will be able to say where in Italy that they're actually calling in from.
We've got someone from Veneto, Giada from Veneto, Anna from Modena, Maddalena from Sicily, Veronica from Tuscany. She must be near me. Someone from Padua. We have Edita from Lithuania. We have Julia from Rome. Sara from Portugal, from Porto in Portugal. Sylvia from Alessandra. Yeah. We have Maria Grazia from, it's going so fast, I can't read them all. Folonica. We have Maria from Italy. We have Laura from Apulia. We have Simona from Viareggio. And we have Caterina from Crotone.
Wonderful.
Marta from Udine, all over. That's great.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, welcome everybody and good afternoon. I'm your host, Josephine McNulty, and I have my co-host, Sarah Ellis, who's joined me today, and she's going to be moderating. So welcome and thank you for joining us. We're based in Italy. So Sarah is in Bologna or near Bologna, and I'm in Rome. And in fact, today, we're going to be talking about something which is specifically related to Italy, both sides. So that's a key title book for us in Italy. So for those who are tuning in from outside of Italy, you wouldn't be able to get this book in Portugal, unfortunately, but we're more than happy if you stay to listen to hear about what both sides is about. But please do stay for the initial part because we're going to be looking at teacher support. So let's just get started. And just as a quick reminder, you will receive a certificate for your participation at this webinar through email. And as Sarah is the one who's able to see the chat and the Q&A, so the domande, please do interact with us through the chat box and also through the Q&A, or in Italian, the box for domande. So we would love to hear from you, get your comments and join us. There'll be a couple of polls later as well. So let's get started. We're going to look at the Cambridge Support for Teachers initially. And a couple of tips, a few tips for those of you, you're just starting the new academic year. So to do that, you want to get the right environment for your students. So set up that really positive environment. It's going to be exciting. You're going to do lots of new things, lots of variety. And your students will certainly be motivated once they see all the nice things that they're going to be doing with you. You want to give them the tools for success. So we're going to help you as well identify some of the resources from Cambridge, not just for yourself, but also for your students as well, that can help them to achieve their best goals and achieve as much as they can when they're learning English. And also where to go and find that support, both for yourselves, but also to give support to your students as well. So creating the right environment. So it's really important that your students understand that you care about their aspirations, about what's going on in their lives, that there is that personal touch, that they have the possibility of talking about their own personal experiences. And of course, as students, everybody wants to have their success recognized and their efforts, even if they don't manage to achieve the maximum, but we still recognize their efforts as teachers. So trying to create that positive environment. And that, of course, if they're motivated, if they're happy, if they're being given lots of encouragement, they will want to move forward and they'll want to learn English even more. Now, one of the great tools that you as teachers can access is our World of Better Learning tool, which is on our website, and it's got blogs, resources, ideas. You can actually filter through on topics and the skills and find material which you can use with different age groups of students. Today, we're kind of focused on teenagers, also because the book that I'm going to be talking about afterwards, Both Sides, is for teenagers, for high schools. But this is a really great, this was taken from our website, this screenshot, and you can see it's a blog that's been written by Daniel Vincent, and it's about back to school with a bang. So how to get off to a good start with a new class. And I'm sure some of you will have classes that you had from last year, but I'm sure everyone has got new classes for this year. So some good ideas in there. Plus, we've got teacher training books, and this is a great one from Herbert Puchta, who is very well known author and international expert on teaching students, teenagers in particular. And this is something which he suggests the importance of warmer pre-questions when you're starting your lessons, because it does prove, there's evidence that proves that students pay more attention when you start to ask them those pre-questions and get their minds working. We've also created the Cambridge Life Competencies Framework. And what this is, it's a framework which helps you as teachers to develop the competences, life competences that students need in order to face different things in life. So for them to be able to communicate, or helping themselves to learn, or using critical thinking skills to try and work out problems. This is part of the Cambridge Life Competencies Framework that we've created. And what we've created different activity cards for different age groups. So we have it from pre-primary, primary, secondary, and also for adults, higher education. And these are activity cards that you can use with your students. And in those cards, it describes to you the activity that you can do, which is not only teaching them English, but it's developing those really important life skills at the same time. And they're very easy to download. You can find them on our website. And I think that maybe Sarah will post in the chat box the link that you can all click onto. This is an example, or some examples on developing critical thinking. So as teachers, it's really important, and what we have really focused on is that when we create books, materials, resources for English language teachers, we want also at the same time to develop these very important life skills and life competences. So we've built that already into our books using our life competences framework, but we've also created these activity cards that you can use with your students. And you can do it maybe specifically with that purpose, or else integrate it into your normal classroom work. Giving our students the tools for success. Well, one of those tools that you can use with them is a tool called Test and Train. So this is the new digital exam practice and training environment that we've developed. And it's all about digital practice for digital exams. So Test and Train is a platform which is on Cambridge One, our main platform. And students have access, if they're using both sides, but also if they're using other books like the ones that you can see on the screen, Compact, Complete, Open World, Prepare, Think. Within the front cover of these books, your students will find an extra code. And that extra code allows your students to access Test and Train, which is part of their course, part of their book, which offers them not one, but 3 practice tests for the exam that they're going to do. So for both sides, it will be the B1 preliminary or the B2 because it goes up. For the other books, it will depend on the level that they're studying and preparing for. But the 3 digital practice tests gives them lots of opportunity to practice for the exams and also practice their English too, because there's still activities to learn and develop English. So with Test and Train, they can train by themselves, doing it for homework. They can, while they're traveling on the bus, on the train, they can access Test and Train from their mobile phones. It's very easy to use. And there's lots of hints and tips and suggestions on how to answer questions. Plus, if they get it wrong, they can see the reason why it was wrong. And so there are these really great tips, this great information that they can use. It's going to, of course, boost their confidence while they're using this because they're already becoming familiar with the format of the exam. And even if they don't do the exam that year, they've still got access to material that they're doing lots of practice with. Ideally, this is going to be used before they do a Cambridge exam. They'll have access to a full speaking test, and that will allow them to see just what happens on the day of the exam, so what to expect, and that's going to help them with their pre-exam nerves. Plus, we've got for the writing and speaking skills, there are sample model answers and examiner insights. So this is a wonderful tool, and students have got free access to it if they're using any one of these books that you can see on the screen, or using both sides that we'll be talking about later. This is another tool that your students can use, and this is something that you as teachers can use as well. So Write and Improve is a free digital platform which uses artificial intelligence, and teachers and students can use it to practice writing activities or have their writing. So basically, students can choose from hundreds of tasks at all levels, all the way from A2 up to C1, and get writing, upload their writing or write on the platform itself, and then they'll be able to get feedback on where they've made errors or where it needs improvement. So that's going to save you as a teacher lots of time while offering to the students a possibility for them to improve their writing. So they can create their own profile. You can see there's an area for teachers and organizations and separate one for learners. So if you open it up, you can see that the students have got the opportunity to do writing activities at different levels. And when they start writing and they ask for feedback, they will get different suggestions on spelling, where there's an issue with spelling or grammar or something else which is not quite right. So the students are having to use those critical thinking skills to work out what could be wrong rather than just being spoon-fed. And they can also do practice for the exams themselves over and above just the normal Common European Framework levels. So that's a massive bonus. They can go to each part of a writing exam, for example, on B2 first, and they can look at different questions, have different questions asked to them, and they can start writing. Complete their writing composition, their review, essay, whatever it is, upload it or write it directly in the platform and have it evaluated with the feedback. So do share that information with them because it's for learners as well as teachers. Then, of course, we've got our very own digital learning platform called Cambridge One. And this is a really easy, intuitive platform that we've developed for teachers and learners. As you can see, it can be used on different devices, on phones, tablets, and on PCs. So what's special about it? You can have everything in one place. It's easy to access, very intuitive. Students access material on it, so it helps to make the lessons a bit more dynamic for them. It's interesting, it keeps them motivated, they'll be challenged at the right level. And also, you as teachers within Cambridge One are able to access student data on how well they're progressing with the work that they're doing and see the progress of a class as well. And that can make your teaching be informed about what to do with that class next, if they're weak in certain areas, where they're strong, etc. So it's very easy when you, I think Sarah may put the website into the chat, very easy to log in. You can do it through Facebook, Google, Apple, or you can just register from the start with your own regular email. Now you register as teachers. Students should register as learners if they are minors. So if they're under 16, they should have the consent of their parents, because of course we have to be very sensitive to younger learners in particular. But if they're 16 or above, they can register as learners. There's also a help section. So if you've got any problems, you can look at the help section. Now, once you get into the platform, you'll see that in your profile, there are 3 main sections: my classes, my library, my training. If you've got any books that you're using, you can bookmark them so that they're easy to find. There's also a section that talks about teacher support. And at the bottom of that page, you can see course materials. Basically, this gives you access to the full catalogue of resources, books that Cambridge University Press and Assessment, what we've developed. And there you're able to see sample material demos of almost every book, even if you've not adopted it or you're not using it, but you can see what it's like inside. So once you open up an interactive, once you've got access to your books, you need an activation code. The activation code comes through one of the consultants around Italy. Then you can access all of these materials which come with our books. This is all the digital material for our books. You've got interactive practice per unit, and that's specifically for students. We've got the test and train practice. Again, this is for students to do the 2 practice tests out of the 3 that I mentioned before on test and train. They can do multiple trials. It's all auto-corrected, so you don't need to do any correction, but you can see their results. They've also got the timed digital practice test for test and train. So they've got 3 tests. 2 of them just practice as much as they want, and 1 which is timed. Then we've got Presentation Plus. It's an interactive digital book, and that's used by you as a teacher in class, on the LIM, on the interactive whiteboard. And we have For many of the courses, we have test generators, so you can create and personalize your own tests for every single class. Then you've got teachers' resources, as you would expect, worksheets, extra activities, and external links. And finally, you've got the students' interactive ebook, so they can listen to the audio, they can see any of the videos, and they can see all the exercises. Now, on Cambridge One, in the section which says My Training underneath your profile name, you can see different tutorials for teachers. So the first ones, which are color purple, which is what I love, these are all short video tutorials that explain to you how to teach with Cambridge One, how to use Cambridge One, how to teach with the Practice Extra and the digital workbook, how to teach with the Presentation Plus. Presentation Plus is the interactive digital book, and how to teach with Test and Train. So that great platform where your students have got 3 digital practice tests. Plus, within the section of My Training on Cambridge One, you have the possibility of doing self-study professional development courses. Now you can see on screen that they last 2 or 4 hours, and these are courses that are paid for. However, you can stop and start whenever you want. This is an example of how to teach with the Practice Extra and the digital workbook. So there's the video tutorials for the teacher. There are different sections that take you through it, looking at the pedagogy and how to use it. And there's also another tutorial which shows you and teaches you how to use the Test and Train with your students. Now, where to go for support for teachers? Well, on our website, you can see we've got the exam preparation journey. And these are kits, packs, 10 of them, which you can download from our website. And they basically take you by the hand from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, explaining to you how to approach and practice, develop the courses that you're doing in preparing students for our exams. So it goes right from the start of the year to the end of the year. If you look, take a photograph of the QR code, then it will take you straight to that web page. So we've got 10 packs, and we have 10 packs for each of the different levels, and you can see from A2 all the way up to C2. If you haven't done so already, please do sign up to our free teachers newsletter, because that's the very place where you will receive updates on resources, new things from Cambridge, if there's any events, webinars, and any new information that is useful for your teaching. If you're interested in pedagogy and you want to know more about the research that Cambridge University, the University of Cambridge does, you can also download these booklets from our website, which looks at the development, the pedagogy behind each of these different areas. As you know, we are part of the University of Cambridge. Everything that we do is backed up by research, is backed up by evidence, is backed up by the research and the development of teaching skills, pedagogy at the universities and schools. So we want to give you the best materials possible and make sure it's all up to date. So if you're interested in this, then please do download these booklets. I think I can see, Sarah, that Antonella has maybe raised your hand. Antonella, unfortunately, you can't speak in this webinar, but maybe you can write in the chat if there are some issues that you've got. Okay, sustainability. Can you think of some words that come to mind about sustainability? Please write them in the chat, and then Sarah, you can tell me about the words that are being written. So when you think of sustainability, which words come to mind?
Okay, let's see. We've got green and future from Simona.
Wonderful.
Eco-minding from Juliana. Eco-friendliness, digital,
Mhm.
reuse, Agenda 2030, reduce
Yep.
plastic, 2030 agenda,
Wonderful.
recycle, reuse, reduce.
Yep. Wonderful. That's fantastic. That's exactly all of those different suggested words relate to these three principal aspects of sustainability for us. Environmental, there's also the social and the economical part as well. So we've come up with a definition for sustainability. And so sustainability encompasses the knowledge, skills, and attitudes we need to ensure a fairer, brighter future for people and the natural world. So let's look after our world. So why bring it into the English classroom? Well, young people want to play an active part in sustainability. We know that Agenda 2030 is very much key in moving forward as countries, societies in Europe, where we're having to look at things like sustainability. And students want to be part of that. This is their future after all. Whatever we do, they're going to then live in the future that we create. It's also a way to give meaning to the English that the students are learning. If they're doing activities and they're talking about real things, things that they have in their everyday lives, it's going to have more engagement from them. It's a way of developing life skills. So again, that reflection on the way that they behave, their attitudes, what they do with their plastic. So it's also developing those life skills over and above teaching them English. English is a shared language in global discussions, and for sure, sustainability is a global issue. So we must address it. And it's also something that is being focused on by the government and institutional organizations. It's now becoming a requirement for us all to think of. So it's really important. We've come up and created the sustainability framework for teaching English as a foreign language. Now you can see it's a lovely wheel divided into 4 key areas. We've got knowledge, values, innovation, and transformation. And within each of those areas, we've got a subtopics within that area. And so what we've done to try and help you as teachers to bring sustainability into your classroom with ease, without you having to spend a lot of time, precious time, we've created these activity cards, and we've created them for different age groups. Now, I've put on the screen the teenage ones because we're going to be talking about both sides. So I chose teenage. But these are the kinds of, we've got different activity cards for the different core areas. These are just some examples that I brought up, which I think is very interesting for you to look at in class. And you can decide whether to use them, when to use them. And of course, here there are suggested activities that your students can complete. And also it's a great way of getting them to do a little bit of research, to work together, collaboration, do project work, group work, get everyone active and everyone involved. Another tool that is really, I think it can be a bit frightening, scary perhaps, is also artificial intelligence. So again, if you could, please type in the chat box, what do you think about generative artificial intelligence? Especially now, thinking about it in your teaching or in your general everyday life. Are there any words that come to mind when you think of artificial intelligence? Any words there, Sarah, that are coming up? I can see there's some in the chat box. There's
Yes,
some words.
curiosity, opportunity, cheating, and progress, as well
Love
as a very useful tool. Help. I'm not sure if that's a cry for help or if that's and time saving. So lots of positive words.
Yeah.
A very unknown tool. It may
Yeah.
be an idea booster or an intelligence killer.
That's so very true. If it's abused
You
or
need to use it in a conscious way, says Maria Luisa.
yes, absolutely, couldn't agree more. Well, you'll be very happy to know that Cambridge has created a generative artificial intelligence idea pack. If you take a photo of the QR code, it will take you straight to our website. And the whole point of the pack that we've developed is, as you said, as some of you were saying, this is a wonderful opportunity. This has arrived. We all know that artificial intelligence has arrived, and this is a wonderful opportunity for us to engage with it and to use it to our benefit. So we've created this pack for two purposes. One of them is for you as a teacher to feel less afraid of artificial intelligence and to use it to your benefit. Use it. So it's giving you ideas and suggestions on some of the different apps that you can use that uses artificial intelligence, and maybe the kind of prompt words that you can use so that you find the information more directly. But it's also, so it's for you as teachers to make you become more familiar, happier to use it. But it's also for you to use in class with your learners as well, and to do activities that they can participate in. So these are some, again, activity cards that you can download from the website. And again, there's that QR code. And from this, you can carry out these if you want. Of course, it's not obligatory, but if you want to do some kind of experimental work with artificial intelligence using ChatGPT, Copilot, that's just a couple of them, but there are many more out there, then you might want to use some of these activity cards. That is actually the end of the first part, which is the support section for you teachers. I don't know if there are any burning questions that have come up in the meantime, Sarah, or if teachers
Not
have
really, just asking about resources. Thank you very much for the ideas on resources. And I put some links in the chat. You showed the QR code. Perhaps you'd like to show the QR code again for the last one.
Yep, sure. That was maybe a little bit fast.
That one.
I went through. Okay,
Okay,
so hopefully
perfect.
everyone, can take photos of that.
There we go.
Okay, so now we're back to school with both sides. So if you're a teacher who has just adopted this course for the first time, or if you've been using it for a year or so, but you still want to understand if there are things, extra resources, things that maybe you haven't been using and you might want to consider actually focusing on or remembering to use them in the class, then hopefully you'll get lots of information today about both sides. So as you know, it's got 3 levels. We've got A2, B1, B1, B1 plus, and B2 and B2 plus. So all the way from first to the biennial and the triennial. So I hope you can see the question above. It says, how many skills are there in English? Well, you're saying to me, Josephine, what do you mean, how many skills are there? We've got reading, writing, listening, interaction, and oracy. So 5 skills, because interaction and oracy for us cover the speaking skill. So as a teacher, what do you normally see when you walk into a classroom? A, B, or C? Well, I can tell you what I hope we don't see is the letter C. So the photo with letter C. Sometimes we see A because they're all a bit having fun and distracted. But what we really want is to see the photo B, where there's engagement and students are enjoying what they're doing, but more than anything, they're all working and collaborating together. Now, engaging students in their learning. How often do you have to teach things like routines and food? So this is probably pretty typical of what you would find in course books. So what's your typical day? What's the routine for a student in the UK? What about British food? Okay, what are meals in Britain like? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, etc. Can that sometimes seem a little bit boring in the context? Well, with both sides, we do the same topics, but we try to put a twist in it and look at it from a different angle. And the reason we're doing that is to try and get the students thinking, reflecting, and start a bit of discussion and a bit of debate. So for us, what's a normal day in space? Can they imagine that? What could it be like? Would your students like it? Maybe not. Maybe they wouldn't be able to see themselves in space. But this could be a great moment where they discuss it and debate it together. Also, something like food. So rather than just looking at, okay, British food, what about thinking of foods that are available, which are not traditional, not fresh, and not even natural? So artificial food. So do your students know what that's about? Do they know that people eat artificial food? Does it really exist? And people are eating it. What would they do? Would they eat it? Would they try it? Maybe you can come up with a list of foods which are artificial, have been modified, and see what your students think. Would they try it? Well, maybe they wouldn't. Or once they find out that some things are artificial, they might say, I'm not going to eat that anymore. But we're trying to look at topics, very traditional topics, and take it from a different angle. And the whole purpose is to give lots of opportunity for the students to discuss and debate and get them to think about situations and how they would react. And this is a time also when during the debating, the discussion moment, it's unscaffolded. So they're not being they're being given a free rein to be able to discuss and say what they like, even in a very free way. They're not it's a moment when they can say what they like, how they want to. Now, with both sides, we've got 4 video types. We've got vlogs, documentaries, grammar animation videos, and real world English videos. That's where we bring authentic English into your classroom. What we don't want is for your students to go to an English speaking country and hear English that is alien to them. We want them to be exposed and familiar to authentic real world English as well. So we use vlogs to develop and practice oracy. So how do we do it? Well, we've got these video vlogs that are suitable to their age group, but also the topics that we look at as well. For example, in this particular vlog, it's a student who's doing a product review. So just as they watch on TikTok or Instagram, but we're also giving them some strategies to consider when a presentation or someone is talking to us about something, and then asking them to identify that strategy being used. This is then going to help them as a model for them to do like a presentation themselves. They can choose a product, something that is new that others don't really know, and present that to the class. So it's a great activity for the students to practice oracy. The vlogs also introduce grammar and pronunciation. So this is a great way too. The students are obviously going to need to have vocabulary and grammar to be able to do their presentations, but they'll have the vlog that gives them a good model. We have the grammar animated videos, and this is fantastic because it means that the students, these can be used in class to substitute your own explanation. They can be used for flipped classrooms, so the students look at it at home and then they come into class and you can look at certain things together. It's also perfect if you've got students that were absent, they were sick, and they missed the lessons when you've been doing work on grammar in particular. So it focuses on target language that you'll be doing in the unit, and it presents it in context so that they can see how the language is being used. There's a lot of variety, so you get lots of different examples of phrases, sentences where the grammar is being used. So they've got lots of examples, lots of practice. Then the videos continue on, and they've just seen the grammar in context. Now they're being given the meaning and the form, which is then analysed with the explanations of the grammar itself. And you can see that the grammar words are also highlighted. So these are good, they're short, they're compact. They can also be used for flipped classroom lessons as well, or absentees. We've got the video documentaries in the culture section, and these are wonderful. We have to have culture. When we talk about our culture, we're using the language, and it's also a way of getting to know and understand better the Anglo-Saxon and international world. So this is actually one of the video documentaries that is in the B1 level, and it's about a new discovery that was made only a few years ago about something from centuries ago. So about Richard III, King Richard III. So let's have a look at it and see what you think.
This is Leicester, a small city in the middle of England. And this is an ordinary car park in the city centre. At least it would be ordinary if we didn't know the tomb of a famous 15th century king was here. It's an unusual place for the tomb of a rich and powerful leader. So, who was this king, and who discovered him here? Richard III was King of England towards the end of the Middle Ages, from 1483 to 1485. It was a time of revolution, and after years of war, Richard's enemies defeated his army and killed him here at the Battle of Bosworth. Richard's followers buried him at the Church of Greyfriars here in Leicester, but they didn't record the grave's location. If only they had, because decades later, nobody could find the king's final resting place, so it was lost for centuries. In 2012, however, scientists at the University of Leicester began searching for the king's tomb. They thought that if they used modern technology, they would find it.
Well, the diggers arrive today and the actual digging starts tomorrow, and it could be the beginning of solving a medieval mystery.
The researchers analysed historical records from after Richard's defeat and death. Then, archaeologists identified the location. And soon, they made an exciting discovery: a skeleton. However, if this area had been a church cemetery, the skeleton could have belonged to anyone.
The chances of them being both of them on the same skeleton and in the same place, it would be a fairly unlikely series of coincidences.
If they wanted to know for sure, they would have to speak to this man, Michael Ibsen. Michael had been contacted in 2004 by an expert who was researching Richard III's family. Richard had no descendants, but his sister Anne did. If scientists could match his DNA with the DNA of the skeleton in the car park, they would know for sure if it was King Richard or not.
The only line that they were able to follow through to current times was the line that led to my mother, or so I'm told. Obviously, it would be a great disappointment if there was no DNA match.
Scientists took samples from Michael and the skeleton they had found. Then there was a long and difficult wait to see if there was a match. And there was. Michael was very excited. A perfect match. The director of the research, Richard Buckley, shared the breakthrough with the media and finally solved one of the country's biggest mysteries.
That beyond reasonable doubt, the individual exhumed at Greyfriars in September 2012 is indeed Richard III, the last Plantagenet King of England.
It's an amazing story, and incredible to think that if the researchers hadn't tested Michael's DNA, they never would have identified the king in the car park.
Wow. So that's a really interesting story, and I'm sure your students will find it a great story as well, considering there was a king that was buried in a car park, and then they managed to discover where his burial grounds were and identify the skeleton. On to a slightly different topic. How confident do you feel about teaching skills? And I think Sarah is going to launch a little poll.
Yes, there we
So
go.
I'm going to, are you,
I've launched it, so you should be able to choose an answer. In fact, people have started answering, so you just choose one.
okay.
And they're coming in quickly. We've got 50% on C.
So
A
you're
is
very
they're
confident, B so confident, and C not so confident.
Well, it's very interesting because it's now A is in first place with 40% and 20% with C, 45%.
Okay.
There we go. Oh, it's really close. A and B are very close.
Okay,
Let's
so
see, when you
people
want.
are pretty confident and very confident or pretty confident
gonna
about
end the
teaching
poll.
skills.
And share the results. There you go.
Fantastic. Okay.
Okay.
So you can see, great, wonderful. I'm just going to close that. So what you didn't see were these lovely pictures that were you should have seen before the poll was launched. I just couldn't open them when the poll had been launched, but that's okay. I think you all understood exactly. So what's great to see is that most of you are between the A and the B. The B is not looking so happy about teaching skills, but you don't want to be C, where you find it quite daunting. Remember, we said that both sides has got 5 skills. We approach that. Well, we do it through strategies that we feel are really important to give to our students that are going to help them approach and to be able to fulfill activities. And in this particular case, we are also identifying that these strategies for each of the different schools are also connected to the B1 level, and in particular to the Cambridge exams. So these are strategies that they can use also for our exams. We have a 3-step approach. So students familiarize themselves with the strategy. They've got a chance to practice the strategy. And then afterwards, they can actually complete the exercise, the activity with more confidence. So I know exactly what you're thinking. Okay, Josephine, we'll give them the strategies. Easier said than done, though, teaching skills, because we also need to give them lots of opportunities to practice without worrying about grammar, vocabulary, reading comprehensions, etc. So what we do is, over and above the strategy boxes, we also use a scaffolded approach to each of the skills. What do we mean by scaffolded? It means we're providing some extra steps, maybe some pre-exercises or activities that help support students to get to their goal. So a scaffolded approach to the productive skills. So in this case, for oracy. So do you remember we had the team vlog? So the students watch the video. We give them the strategy for oracy, so preparing for questions. We also look at the grammar that they're going to need with the pronunciation, and then they can do a presentation of their own, similar to what they saw in the vlog. When it comes down to interaction, we do something similar. So they have a dialogue where they can see the grammar and the vocabulary, the target vocabulary that is highlighted there. So you can pre-teach that. This is something that you can deal with as well as part of the activity for the dialogue. We give them the strategy, and then they, in the end, use all of that information to do a role play. And even in the role play, we're guiding the students so that they know exactly what they should be saying at that point. When it comes to writing, similarly, we've got the text model. We give them lots of writing tips, and we've got the writing strategy. And then the students have to do the productive side. So they need to write something themselves. So we're trying to help build up to that activity that they need to do in the end. Even in the workbook, you can find integrated skills work. So we do at least 4 out of 5 of the skills within the workbook. So remember, this is a great opportunity for you students to do more practice for reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And what's also a really good tip, and I'm sure some of you use it, is also getting students to speak and record their voice so that they can listen to it themselves, try and improve their pronunciation, but also that you can listen to it as well and see maybe if they're making errors, improve their pronunciation, etc. And they can share it with each other in the class. The ministry mystery. Okay, so the ministry asks you to do lots of things over and above just teach English. All I thought I had to do was to teach my students English, but oh no, the Ministry of Education wants me to do lots of things within the limited time that I have. And what it may look and feel a little bit like this, all cramming things into one space. So we're trying to do that and help you in your day-to-day teaching. So we've taken the key competences, well-being and sustainable development goals, and we've included it in every unit in different sections so that you've got the competences boxes, the well-being boxes, Agenda 2030, and it's very clear because they're interwoven into the theme of that particular unit. And these are great opportunities where students need to go and do some research, work together, plan things together, do it, carry it out almost like a project. And we've also created for the teachers 11 projects on Educazione Civica, which is also what is required for the Ministry of Education. And these are great because these are time-saving devices to give you ready-made lesson plans for different topics which are related to Educazione Civica. In this example, it's Going Green, so it's done as a class project, also developing those life competencies as well. Grammar and your average student. Well, I don't usually see students that are so excited like C. Maybe some are a little bit in the middle like B, but most students, when you start talking to them about grammar, they may put on a face like A. So in order to avoid this, we present grammar in different ways. We've got it through the grammar videos. We've got it through the readings presented in context. We also look at grammar through the vlogs and through the listenings as well. And we do it in small snippets. So we do it in small chunks because we don't want the grammar just to last for the whole lesson. We want it to be part of the lesson, but it doesn't overtake all of the other work and skills. So we give it to them in small pills, also in interaction in the oracy sections. So you'll find it in different places. So there's lots of it, but it doesn't become too overwhelming or too heavy. We also do it for communication purposes. So grammar and vocabulary is important for both speaking, presenting, for interaction, for role plays. And so we will use the grammar in their communication as well. So when we get them to do some role plays or some activities together, then we'll get them to use the grammar in that as well. Now, look at that face. Grammar, you can't have grammar without vocabulary. They go hand in hand. We need to have our vocabulary. So we've looked at the vocabulary thoroughly as well. You can find it in readings, where you'll find the most important target words highlighted. So this is a good way for the teacher to know what are going to be the important words that the students should know. It's always within context, and often they're given explanations to help them understand the meaning of those words. The students are supported as well. We try to include diagrams to help them remember and to understand better how to use and how vocabulary can also be extended. We give lots of control practice and more open, less controlled practice. And we give the opportunity to students who are maybe faster, they've got some time in their hands to extend their vocabulary as well. So extension strategies. This is all going to help them to work in vocabulary and then use it in maybe speaking activities or writing activities as well. So everyone's happy. We have, remember I said that we bring in videos of real English, and this is the moment of authentic English that's brought into the classroom. So here you've got in every unit, there's this section where we've got Giuseppe, who's Italian, and he is the interviewer. And then we've got students who are English students or British American, but they are not actors. And these are the people who are going to answer Giuseppe's questions. So he's going to interview them. This is the precise moment when we have the best opportunity to expose our students to idiomatic, colloquial expressions that maybe normally they wouldn't hear, and they hear the young people using these expressions, and we give you opportunities to help the students understand, to use and practice these expressions as well, so that they'll be familiar with it. So they're then able to use these expressions that they've learned in different productive activities like speaking or writing. I think we've got time, but I'll show you just the part of a real world English videos, because I want you to see how natural the replies are from these students and how this is really important and will engage your students themselves. I'll maybe not let it run to the end. I'll cut it off, but you can get the idea of what these videos are like.
So hello everyone. Today we are going to be talking about stories in the media, okay? Starting with you, Mani. Do you always believe what you hear through the grapevine?
I tend to believe everything that I hear through the grapevine. I think it's always come from a direct source and people pass on information. So yeah, I do believe everything I hear.
All the time?
Yeah, most of the time, yeah.
What about you, Robin?
I think it's important to know all sides of the story, because sometimes rumours can spiral and be very misleading. So I don't believe everything I read, because I think it's important to have your own judgment as well.
Yeah, thank you. I see you nodding. Do you agree with Robin? Do you always believe what you hear through the grapevine?
Not all the time. I think it's important to take everything with a pinch of salt, but I do think a lot of the time it is accurate information.
And also with, you have different types of stories. For example, the ones that go viral. Can you think of a story that has gone viral recently?
Yeah, I actually saw a fashion designer in America. She'd created this print that she was inspired from zoo animals. Oh. So this zebra print has actually gone viral, and I've seen it all over on websites and online.
Yeah, that's a nice example. Do you have another one, Robin?
Yes, I read a really nice story about a wealthy woman who decided to buy a house for a homeless man, and he wanted to give him a second chance.
Oh, wow. And, you know, Ayo, it doesn't have to be recent. Can you think of a story that has gone viral maybe in the last few years?
Yeah, I remember the challenge called the Ice Bucket Challenge.
Oh, yes.
And it raised a lot of money for scientific research.
Yeah. And
Okay, I'm going to stop it there only for a question of time, but you can see there were lots of really good topics that came out of there. And I like the fact that Robin mentioned seeing points of view from different sides, or in this case, from both sides as well, seeing both sides of the coin. So those are that was the real life, real English videos. One of the other things that you have to integrate into your teaching from the ministry are Invalsi. Plus, we have given you lots of material in both sides that help you prepare students for the B1 preliminary exam too. But the Invalsi, I'm sure, is something that's really important for you and your students. So we want them to feel confident. We don't want them to be C for sure and panicking. We don't want them to be disinterested like A, but we want them to be more confident like B. So we start Invalsi training right from the first level, and we've got it in every unit. We've got a focus on listening section, and we're also giving them strategies to prepare them for the Invalsi tests. And we conclude with a type of activity that the students will find in the Invalsi exam itself. When it comes to the preparation of B1 or B2, if you're using the higher level, of course, it's a Cambridge book. It wouldn't be a Cambridge book if we didn't give you the option to use preparation material. And remember that the preparation material, even if you're not preparing students for your Cambridge exams, this is still practice material. It's still English activities that you can do with the students. But better still, if you've never thought about teaching or preparing your students for Cambridge exams, this is the perfect opportunity to integrate it into your everyday lessons, because the material is all there and it's part of your course. So it's every double page, every 2 units. So Invalsi are every 1 unit. And it's the best. It's from Cambridge. So we give advice, suggestions, we give some guidance for students in approaching activities that they'll find in exercises and tasks in the exam. So we want them to be very confident. I mentioned before the test and train. So students that use both sides have also got the 3 tests from test and train. We've got 2 practice tests, so they can practice the same exercises as many times as they like. There's one which is a timed test, so you can use it as though it were a simulation of a digital test, and it gives instant feedback, unlimited attempts, and for you as teachers, you can see within a virtual class, you can see how your students are going. But more importantly, you don't need to correct anything because it's all done for you. So you can see in the grade book within Cambridge 1, you can see how your students are performing, and students can use it on the bus while they're traveling, on the train. There's a code in the front cover, in the inside front cover of both sides that your students can access, and that's also where they'll find instructions on how to register on Cambridge 1. If you've got students who have learning difficulties or who are going through a difficult moment, we also want to treat them, not put them in the spotlight or ignore them, but we want to make them feel supported. So we've got grammar maps, which are beautifully illustrated, that will help them to memorize. This is great for students who have learning difficulties, but also everyone, because they're very visual and they're very attractive, make grammar a little bit less heavy. And we use lots of color coding as well that help to remember where the verb should sit in the phrase. We've also got the star system in the workbook. And what we mean by that, if you see next to the exercise 1 star, then that is it's a simple exercise. 2 stars, the difficulty increases. 3 stars, it's a more difficult exercise. So if you've got fast finishers, they can move on to the exercise with the 3 stars, while the other students who need more time can work on the others. So this is brilliant for multi-level classes and students that have all got different abilities. There's a learning support book. Within this, students will find inclusive grammar notes, the animation videos, which are also helpful for students because then they're listening while they're watching. They've got the vocabulary maps, the grammar maps, the mind maps, and scaffolded activities. So we're trying to support those students as much as we can. There's the liquid ebook, which means that your students can then, when they open it up, it allows them to change the font size, the background with a simple click, and it even introduces text-to-speech technology, which is excellent and very innovative. What's your relationship with technology? Sarah, do you want to quickly launch this poll? And let's see how teachers feel about
Yes,
technology.
absolutely. Okay, so here we go.
Thank you so much.
Doesn't want to launch.
No. Haha. Well, maybe because it's the end of the day, but that's okay because
No, it won't launch.
I'm sure if you're teachers like myself, I used to be like picture C, a little bit like, oh heck, what do I do with this technology? I'm probably not picture A because I'm sure there are things that I still need to learn. And with B, there are some things that still frighten me, but in general, I've become more and more confident with technology. Now, both sides, the platform that we use for both sides is Be Smart. So Be Smart have actually got these very helpful help pages on their website, and they've got video tutorials for teachers on how to use the platform. We do for Cambridge One as well, as you saw in the past.
I just put the link in, sorry, Joe, just to add, because they've just updated the link to books.besmart.it. So, so you can find that in the chat.
Wonderful. And what we've also done is to try and give you extra digital support for your needs in the classroom. So we introduced a web app for both sides, which is something that your students can access directly on their mobile phones. And that means immediately, without opening up the digital book, they can immediately see the videos, listen to the audio, and do some exercises on the web app. There's the USB stick. So if you don't have great internet access in your school and you want to use the book, but through a USB on the computer, you're not allowed to download the app for Cambridge, for Be Smart onto the computer, then use the USB stick and ask the agents for that. There are the Google Forms for the tests. We've got Test and Train, which is also on a digital platform, but it's very easy. We give you tutorials to be able to allow you to understand the best way to use Test and Train with your classes, with your students. We've got this amazing Cambridge Digital Gym, and often teachers forget about this resource, which is free, and it comes with both sides, and we'll look at it in a minute. Plus, students for each level of the course, they have got access to 4 digital graded readers suitable for that level, and it's all on Be Smart. So with the readers, as I mentioned, there are 4 readers per level. So they can do that during the holidays. You can do it as extra activities. And that's something that they have easy access to. The Cambridge Digital Gym is basically a platform that allows students to do both grammar and vocabulary for all levels. Now, what that means is that your students, even if you're working on an A2, B1 level, but you've got really weak students, you can ask them to go to the A1 section of the Cambridge Digital Gym and systematically work through those exercises for grammar, for vocabulary. That will be a revision. It will be a revision for them for consolidation, and also allows them, it gives them the time to try and maybe catch up if they're falling behind. And they can do it in their own time when they're at home. They don't need to be in class to use this. And it can go for those strong students, the ones that are actually the highest at the top end of the class. You might want to challenge them more. So you could suggest to them that they could go on to the next level and try some exercises, both for vocabulary and grammar. So you can access it from the mobile phone. It can be done as homework, used for consolidation, fast finishers, or for weaker students. This is perfect for weaker students as well, and they can work at their own pace. I love Cambridge, the digital gym. It's fantastic. You can write reports and everything. When it comes to tests, we've tried to provide you with lots and lots of tests. Entry tests in Fila A, Fila B, skills tests, cumulative tests, inclusive tests, the Cambridge B1 and the B2 tests, the tests on the Google Forms, Invalsi tests. So you're really going to be exhausted with all the tests that we've provided you with. They're also in a format of PDF or Word. So if you want to personalize the tests to your students, to your classes, you can edit them in the Word document. Last but not least, orientamento. This is something that the Ministry of Education introduced last year, and it's something that teachers need to be aware of and doing in their class, helping and preparing students to also regarding orientamento. So what that means is teaching them the key competences, which you can see there's a list there that I put up in the table. Teaching them these competences together with the transversal competences, the ones that we spoke about before, the critical thinking and the problem solving, reflection, thinking about other circumstances, problem solving, etc. Putting them together so that students understand themselves better. They're able to work problems out, better able to deal with issues, but also they know themselves better. And so they can make better choices in their lives. And that comes also down to what do they want to do in their future. So this is also going to help prepare them to make those important choices, whether they go to university, they go to work, they move abroad, whatever it may be. So both sides, a quick sum up because we're really running out of time. I'm going to go through this like lightning. Remember, we spoke about Odyssey and the strategies and students being given lots of practice. The same with reading. Students have got lots of opportunity for debate, for enriching their vocabulary. There's lots of opportunity for interaction. We've got 3-step approach to different skills, which is useful for building. It's part of that scaffolding for your learners. Also for the listening as well, we've got grammar in there, but we give them in short amounts so that it's not too heavy a lesson. And always opportunities for debates. We've got the culture, these wonderful stories with writing tips and strategies. We've got preparation for the exams. We've got real English, authentic English being brought into the class on topics that will engage your students. And we've got projects, lots of projects that really focus on life competencies that will enrich the lessons that you do and also get students to work together and collaborate. We've got consolidation of all of these different grammar, vocabulary functions, and that is basically both sides. So don't choose just one, but make the most of both sides. This is the website for both sides. If you want to know more or you want to see certain information about both sides, do contact your local Italian LÖSR agent. If you're missing any components, you can also talk to one of the Cambridge consultants around Italy.
Absolutely.
Are there
because
any questions?
That fits perfectly because people are asking about the fact that they haven't got orientamento, that part. So if they contact their agent,
Yep. Well, actually, there's an easier way to do this as well. We've made it available so that it can be downloaded and you should be able to find it on Be Smart. However, if you can't find it, then do ask one of the consultants or one of the agents.
yeah, I think that would be helpful because I think because it's changed to Be Smart Books, there are a couple of things that are not quite so clear.
Yeah,
I was having a look.
Absolutely. The Be Smart platform has been updated. They've renewed it, but it's not quite perfect yet. And there's some things that are still not maybe fully functional. So do ask us if you're looking for the Orientamento, then please do get in touch with the leisure agent or contact us at Cambridge, one of the consultants. So are there any, I think there's probably not a lot of time. We're a couple of minutes over. But thank you so much for everyone who joined us. Thank you to my wonderful co-host, Sarah Ellis, who is always magnificent. We hope that you enjoyed the session, that you got some new information, useful information, things that you can use in the classroom, and that you feel more confident if you didn't know both sides and you're going to be using it, that you can see how much it can work for you. And now we're going to launch a poll, a satisfaction poll. So I think Sarah's going to do that.
I'm afraid it won't launch, Joe, because I think it was used before.
Oh
okay.
dear. Okay.
However,
well, maybe in the chat, perhaps the teachers could just say if you found it useful, very useful, or hopefully nobody found it not useful. But please, we want your honesty. Yeah, please tell us.
We've got lots of positive feedback. Very useful, very useful. Thank you. Useful.
Thank you.
So that's very helpful as well. So thank you. Lots of positive feedback to you, Joe, for fabulous work. And I think people found it very useful.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Incredibly useful. There we go. Daniel says.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much. Those are wonderful comments. And we love that because we want to make these webinars useful for you. This is just a reminder that these webinars, these sessions that are dealing with different age groups continue on. Both sides, that's it over and it's completed, but you can certainly look at other webinars and you might be able to click, or maybe Sarah can copy and put that web link into the chat.
Exactly.
But do please join us if you get the opportunity. It goes all the way up to, we've got tomorrow and the day after, 26th, 27th September, and we've got the 24th, 30th and 1st of October.
I'm just looking for the link.
Okay. Yeah, maybe you can copy it from the.
I can't because the slide is open. So
okay.
It's okay. I find the link and I'll put it in the chat. So it's not too late to sign up for the other ones. Okay. And we hope that you may find it useful to join for a different level. There we go. There's the link to sign up for.
Fantastic.
Oh no. Just ignore that one. Ignore it because it's the wrong year. So we need to make sure it's 24. That was, this is becoming an annual event.
Yeah, we want to try and get everyone off to a good, positive start for the beginning of the academic year.
Okay, here we go. That looks better. I've got the correct link now. So here we go. And there it is. There we go. That's the one you need.
Okay, excellent. Well, hopefully the teachers that have managed to hang on and stay with us, you'll get that link. And if you're interested, we do hope you'll join us. And on that note, I will say that's a goodbye from me.
And thank you very much from me. And thank you, Joe, for an amazing session. And we see that many people are going to come and join us at the Cambridge Day events in October and November. So again, do have a look at the website to see which other events are happening too in Italy.
Yes, and they're happening all over Italy. I can tell you, because I'm based in Rome we'll have a Cambridge Day on the 22nd of October. Looking forward to seeing you. So do look at our website to get more information about that. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a lovely evening and hope to see you at Cambridge Day.